I said start recording, but look.
Crazy up now.
Growing up, I
I
went
ain't
to my
make out
physical
these all
therapy
that.
appointments
Shave their
alone
hand.
with tears in my eyes.
Boy, man,
When I
you ain't
texted
dropping
James,
shit,
I
boy.
got no response. When I looked at his social media, I realized I was blocked. Just like that, I was completely and totally alone in the world. Or so I thought. I
Come
really
back to
lucked
the
out with
park.
my physical therapist because he was a hottie. A smoking hot babe of a man. His name was Miles. And when he saw me crying, he wiped my tears. It wasn't
You
long
got
before we
that
were hanging
going.
out
Go to
after
all
physical
day, go to
therapy.
Blue
My
Day
hospital
Garden,
stay
go to
was
John
coming to its
Day.
end, and I realized I had nowhere to go. I was freshly 18. My mom had cheated and run off with a guy who tried to poison me, and my dad was absolutely nowhere to be found. I'm not proud
Go
of
to
this,
Blue
but for a few
Day
days after
Park
my release,
and
I
go to
stayed in the
John
park
Day.
on a bench. I went around different fast food places, desperately trying to find work. I eventually got 2 jobs at 2 different fast food spots, so I could make ends meet and afford an apartment, and thank God I did. Some of the things I saw while I was living in the park were not okay. The whole time I was in the park, my mom was desperately looking for me. She kept calling me, but I knew she wouldn't leave John, so there was no point in even bothering with her. Once things calmed down, I tried to talk to the cops about getting John arrested, but they kept telling me there was nothing they could do. They didn't even think it was John, which was totally insane to me. I was heartbroken, but as time went on, Miles was there to help me. He saw me at my worst, and he was there for me through all of it. He moved into my apartment, and for a while, my life was stable. I would get random, creepy calls from my mom and John every once in a while, but the horror of him trying to poison me started to fade into the background. Then I got some incredible news. I was pregnant. After all I went through, I was going to have a baby with a man who loved me, and everything seemed right in the world, except I still felt like I was missing something. I knew I didn't want my mom involved with the baby, but I definitely wanted my dad involved. When I was about 7 months pregnant, I went on a mission to find him. I visited all the old places he used to go. I called all of his old friends. I even went to my old house and asked the owners if they knew where he was, but there was nothing. I started calling all the hospitals trying to reach him, and that's when I really started to worry. Had my dad been hurt? Was he homeless now? Finally, I called the last hospital on the list, and they told me that he had been in their custody for over a year. But it wasn't a normal hospital. It was a psychiatric hospital. Had my dad been so torn up about my mom cheating, he had lost his mind? I drove over to the hospital as fast as I could. When I saw my dad, my heart broke. He was skinny and scared looking. When he saw me, his eyes lit up and he hugged me. We talked about the good old days, and he rubbed my belly, telling me how proud he was that I was going to be a mom. I told him I wanted him to be a part of my life and asked how he ended up here. He told me my mom had had him committed after she cheated on him and the doctors wouldn't let him go. I couldn't believe it. I promised him I would sign him out. He had raised me for almost my whole life. Now it was my turn to repay the favor. I told him he could come live with me. When I signed him out, the doctors tried to tell me not to, but I didn't listen. I know my dad, and I knew my mom was the real crazy one. My dad slept on the couch of our house, and he helped around a lot. He cleaned the dishes and cooked, and all around he seemed kind of normal. But whenever I mentioned mom, he would get really upset. He took my car every night to drive to work at his job as a janitor at a local school, and having him around was a dream. Him being gone at night meant Miles and I had our own private time. But soon, Miles was eager to have him out of the house. He told me my dad creeped him out, and I didn't quite understand it. Miles told me my dad had said some weird things about family to him, but I kind of brushed it off until I couldn't anymore. One morning, I got in my car, and it smelled disgusting. The back seat had empty containers of what looked like bleach. My heart was pounding, and I knew something was wrong. When I tried to pull out of the yard, a cop car pulled out in front of me. They put me in handcuffs and put me in the back of their car for questioning. I was so confused. Being 8 months pregnant at this point, I was terrified something would happen to my baby. When the cops sat me down, they were actually nice to me. They explained that there had been a cluster of poisonings in family pools around town in the past month. Poisonings just like the one that had happened to me. They hadn't happened in years, and suddenly, with my dad's release, they were happening again. I didn't want to believe it. My dad wasn't a murderer. He didn't poison people. Why would he ever want to hurt me? He could never do something so horrible. But about an hour later, the cops pulled my dad in, and they were carrying evidence behind them. My dad had poisoned the pool of a house right by the station, and they caught him had ended. When they brought him in for questioning, John and my mom showed up. I was so terrified and confused that I hugged my mom. She cried and explained the truth to me. She hadn't cheated on my dad. My dad had been threatening to hurt her and me for years. When she left in the middle of the night with John, it was because it was her only chance to escape. I had been too young to realize how abusive he was to her. The cops finally got the truth out of my dad. He had poisoned the pool and I in an attempt to bring our family back together. He thought the tragedy would make us a family again, when in reality it tore us apart even more. When he was released, he started doing it to families' pools, hoping it would make families more united and closer together. The logic made me sick. For the first time ever, I saw my dad for what he was, a sick man. He was sentenced to jail for a long time, and I even testified against him. My mom and John are both in my life. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and although life has been weird, I'm thankful to have my weird little family.
Okay, guys. Also, that is